once again. Good morning, my dear friends.
Good morning.
Can you hear me? Good morning, my dear friends. Now you can hear me. I know my accent is very strong, but I will try as much as I can to be slow, just so you will hear every bit of what I say. But I will also be careful not to put you to sleep. Because, as I said at the beginning of this Mass, I am here on behalf of the Bishop of the Diocese of Boko in central Nigeria. And my name is Father Clement. I am already in this diocese on donation by the Diocese of Boko to the Diocese of San Diego. I am here for 8 years. And the plan was for me to be here and eventually to go back to Nigeria to continue with my ministry. But having lived here for a couple of years, for many years, Cardinal McElroy asked me if I wanted to be a priest of the Diocese of Diocese of San Diego. And I told him I have no problem with that if my home bishop allows it. So he says, in that case, write and tell him that he, Cardinal McElroy, was willing to accept me here to be his own priest. And if he accepts it, if he agrees, if he gives his permission, he will accept me. So then I wrote Bishop William Avenya in Boko, central Nigeria. And I told him, this is what Cardinal is saying. And he writes back and he tells me, well, I have no problem with that. A priest is free to be where he wants to be and where he thinks he's happy doing his work. So if Cardinal wants to accept you to be a priest of San Diego, he doesn't have any problem with that. So then the process started, and then eventually in 2022, precisely on Holy Thursday, Cardinal McElroy wrote me a letter telling me that, well, now, Clement, I have accepted you to be a priest of San Diego. And what that means is that I am now incardinated in the Diocese of San Diego. If I wanted to go to Nigeria, now that plan is cancelled. I'm not going anywhere. You are stuck with me here. So I am placed in charge of UCSD Hillcrest as Hospital Chaplain. And I also do Scripps Green in Torrey Pines in La Jolla. So I cover these two hospitals. I used to be at the cathedral in St. Joseph Cathedral downtown San Diego for about 4 years. I am at Mary Star of the Sea Church in La Jolla for 3 years now. And my first assignment was at St. Francis of Assisi in Vista. So altogether, this has been 8 years since I came to the diocese. And I'm happy to be here. I'm happy. So today, we are here to talk about the mission of Boko Diocese. But before we go into that, I want us to look at the readings of today too. The readings speak about shepherds. The first reading particularly talks about the shepherds of Judah, shepherds of Israel. You know, shepherds were lowly people who were poor, who lived in ancient Near Eastern communities, and they had their own flocks that they grazed, they looked after. And shepherds in biblical perspectives are also looked upon as kings. And in our own context, we will look at shepherds as priests, as bishops. Bishop is the chief shepherd of the diocese. We can also look at shepherds as people placed in charge of leadership. If you're a leader, either in your home or in your organization on your place of work, you are looked upon as a leader and as a shepherd. In the context of the readings of today, God is saying, Prophet Jeremiah begins with woe. It's a woe saying, woe to you shepherds. In other words, they are not doing things that are appropriate. They are misleading the people. But the work of a shepherd is to what? To protect, is to provide sustenance for the sheep, for the flock, is to rescue those that are in danger. It is to make sure that there is peace. It is to protect those, to search for those that are straying. These are the duties of a shepherd, making sure that things walk in the right direction. But unfortunately, the shepherds of Israel have failed. In our world today, for you that are Catholics, sometimes you have, resentful feelings with the priest. Yes, we have failed you in different ways. Think about the times that you had a loved one in the hospital and you look for a priest everywhere, calling parishes upon parishes and no priest responding. Think about the times that you needed a priest for one service or the other and you never got a priest. I always tell people, and I tell my fellow priests too, what people don't forget is that time that their loved one was in the hospital and was dying, and they sent for a priest, and the priest never showed up. People never forget that. And what people don't forget also is that time that their loved one was dying, and they sent for a priest, and the priest showed up. The priest came in at the right time and prayed for that person, anointed that person, listened to the person's confessions, and eventually the person died. Families don't forget that. And so when we don't do our duties as priests, we fail you. And we have failed you in many, many different ways. And that is why Jesus comes and he's telling us he is the good shepherd. A good shepherd is one that lays down his life for his sheep. He's ready to do anything for the sheep. For the person, for somebody, for an external aggressor to attack the sheep, you must first of all bring down Jesus. Otherwise, you will not be able to attack the sheep. So Jesus is the good shepherd. And we have seen in recent times the Gospel of Mark chapter 6, how his mission is going on. Last Sunday, we listened to the story of Jesus sending the 12, sending them ahead. And they said he sent them, Mark told us he sent them in twos, in pairs. It would have been easy for Jesus to send them as single individuals, in which case it would have been easier for them to cover more ground. But he sent them in pairs because the work of a missionary, the work of a shepherd, is a difficult work. And if you look at the passage preceding the passage we read today, the passage Deacon Kevin read today, talking about the apostles' return and giving account of their ministry, immediately preceding this passage of today is the passage about John the Baptist. And John the Baptist is telling Herod that, well, what you have done is not right. You can't take your brother Philip's wife. It's not right. And John the Baptist tells him that to his face. How many of us have the courage to do that? And because John the Baptist does this, he has to lose his life. They have to cut off his head. That was how he died. Telling you that missionary work can be very, very difficult. If you go out there, you could be persecuted. And here, I remember those missionary priests that went to Africa, the Irish priests, particularly that evangelized my part of Nigeria. A lot of them died of mosquito bite. A lot of them died of so many different things. Even the food, eating the food of the people and getting sick and dying. Even at the time I was in the seminary, it was not easy. And I look back several years from 1930, when they started their missionary work in my part of Nigeria. I look back in 1930 and I could just imagine the difficulties. Even during my time in the 90s, that we could go through a lot of difficulties. You go to a community. What they give you is the best. What they offer you, the bed they are offering you to sleep on, is the best. But unfortunately, you sleep on that bed, you become food for the bugs the whole night. You sleep on that bed, you listen to music the whole night, music from the mosquitoes. Not just the music, but the bites also. During our time, it was not easy either. And then you walk from one village to the other on foot. 3 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles, walking from one village to the other. And these were parishes that will have over 300 village churches. Over 300 of those village churches. And the seminarian is there for 2 months. He's supposed to visit all those places. Teaching catechism, doing Bible studies, Bible service for the people, and doing questions and answers for the people. Listening to their questions about the faith and providing answers to those questions. During our time, it was not easy. And so Jesus sends these people out. Now they have seen John the Baptist is dead. And you will now see that after the passage of today's gospel reading, you will see Jesus feeding 5,000 people. And then immediately after that passage, you will see Jesus walking on the sea. And what does this mean for us? It's a way of telling us that, well, missionary work can be difficult, but if your mind is after the mind of the sender, who is Christ, you will do great things, feeding multitude of people, thousands of people like he did. If your mind is after the mind of the sender, like Father Pio, whose mind was completely on the sender, he did a lot of things. You will perform a lot of miracles just like Jesus himself walked on the sea. Today, my dear friends, Jesus sees himself as the good shepherd, and we see himself as the good shepherd. When these people come back and they are giving account of their ministry, he says, take some time off. Come away to some lowly place and rest a while. Take some time and rest. What does rest mean for Jesus? It is still a time of prayer. If you go back to read the Gospel of Mark chapter 1, verse 35, he talks about why it was still dark. Jesus withdrew to a deserted place to pray. That is what it means to rest for Jesus. You keep resting and praying and praying and praying just so you'll be filled with the grace to go out there and to continue the ministry. If there is no prayer, forget it. A priest that does not pray is an empty vessel. That is what Jesus is telling us. And so today, my dear friends, we are here coming to share this faith with you, coming to celebrate the Eucharist with you, coming to appeal to you for support. Nigeria is a country that we shouldn't be coming cap in hand begging you. God has blessed that country so much. You talk of producing oil, 6th world producer of oil, exports oil. But do you know what? Nigeria is a country we don't understand. Even as they produce 2.2 million barrels of oil every day, none of the refineries is working. So what they do is they produce the crude, send it over to other countries, and then buy the refined oil to consume in Nigeria. So for many years, there was what the government called oil subsidy. So they give the subsidy so that Nigerians will buy oil at a cheap price. That was no longer sustainable. That was no longer sustainable because the government was not able to pay the subsidy anymore. So last year, May 29th, the new president decided that, well, there's no more oil subsidy. Oil subsidy is gone. And guess what? A gallon of oil that was bought, for instance, for $1, now jumps to $7. And in the local currency, a gallon of oil that was bought for like 200 naira now jumps to 1,000 naira. the people are not just able to sustain that. Everything is affected because the country is heavily dependent on oil. The country that used to be dependent on agriculture, once oil was discovered in the 50s, everybody gave away agriculture. Heavy dependence on oil. So whatever affects oil affects the life of the people. If you go to Nigeria now, there is misery. Real misery. Real misery. People are suffering, no food to eat. People wake up not knowing where to get their next meal. But we're not here to ask you to give them food. What we're here to ask you is to support the mission of the Diocese of Boko. This is a diocese that, like I told you, was created in 2012, precisely on the 29th of December by Pope Benedict XVI. And Bishop William Avenya was named the first bishop, and he's still the bishop. The diocese has 255 priests, 83 seminarians, 53 male religious, 16 female religious, over 300 minor seminarians. What the bishop is doing is to create more parishes and more rectories. There are 55 parishes served by these 255 priests. 44 rectories. He has decided to create rectories, places in the rural communities that he will send a priest. He will live with the people because the country, the state, particularly the state, is surrounded by Muslims who have taken a big portion of the people's land, and there is fear. If the whole state is surrounded by Muslims and the people are afraid, they are living in fear, we never know the day that they will declare a jihad. And declaring a jihad means that there will be attack from this angle, attack from the other angle, attack from the other angle. And so he has decided that, well, as the people are afraid, he is going to create more rectories and send priests there to live with the people. And you know, priests bring a lot of peace and comfort. Just being there with the people feel they are safe. The priests don't even carry arms, but people of faith, we believe that when a priest is there, God is there with them. And so, he has asked me to tell you, he would have loved to be here to celebrate this Mass, to share the faith with you. But because of other pastoral engagements, he is not able to come. And also because of the bureaucracies looking for a visa to travel to the United States, it's difficult for him to come. But she ask you to help him in the training of the priests, in the training of the seminarians who will be priests tomorrow. The cost of training a priest in Nigeria, $500 will train a priest for the whole year. Because if you convert that money to a local currency, you are going to get some money that will train that priest for the whole year. Those of you that feel blessed and you are able to train a seminarian for the whole year, he will be most appreciative of your efforts, of your sacrifices. If you don't feel so blessed to be able to do that, whatever you can do will be highly appreciated. You will see in the pews the yellow envelopes. The yellow envelopes are in the pews. If you are not ready to donate anything today, just take it home, pray about it, and whatever the Lord moves you to donate will be highly, highly appreciated. And if you feel you have the capacity to train a priest for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years, or even for 10 years that he's going to be in the seminary. In fact, some of us were trained by lay people. One woman in Germany that trained me, I don't even know her. It was the day that I was being ordained, I graduated from the seminary, the director called me and gave me the name of this woman and told me, Clement, write to this woman thanking her for training you to be a priest. I never forget that. I don't know who she is, but she sacrificed. She may not have been a wealthy woman, but she sacrificed all that to make sure that the mission of the church continues. We are counting on you. 83 seminarians is a lot of it's a capital intensive thing for the Diocese of Boko. Whatever you can do will be highly appreciated. I am going to conclude with this story. A priest is invited to dinner, and he goes to dinner with this couple who are parishioners of his parish. And they are eating, and after the priest left, the couple are talking to themselves and say, "Oh, honey, you know what? The 50 euros that I left on this table is gone. Who else could have taken this money if not the priest? We don't have anybody here. We don't have children here. So if this money is gone, most likely it's the priest that took this money." Don't mind these people. They are either pedophiles or abusers or taking money that doesn't belong to them from the church and all that. You know what, honey? We are not going to his church anymore. We are going to stop going to his parish. So one day they're in the grocery store and they run into this priest. And then they walk to this priest and say, "Father, how are you? Good to see you here." "Well, Father, you may have observed, you don't see us in your church anymore. Guess what? We have left your parish because we can't believe that you went to our house and that money we left on the dining table was gone. We had no other person in that house, so we just concluded that you took the money, and there's no doubt about that." Father said, yes, I took the money. That's very true. But you know what? There was a Bible you left on the dining table. So when I took that money, I opened the Bible and I put that money in the Bible because I didn't want the sauce to spill on the money. And so these people now go back home and they open the Bible, and lo and behold, the money is there. What is the implication? All those months that the priest left their house, they had not opened their Bible. They have the Bible, but they don't read it. Right? And so, my dear friends, that story may have so many lessons for us. But the lesson I want us to learn is the lesson that we, the priests, may have failed you in one way or the other. But look at the bigger picture. The picture of the mission of the church. Look at the 99% of priests that are working very, very hard and trying to be faithful to their ministry. Disregard the 1% that brings shame and disgrace to you, to our church, to our faith. Just look at the bigger picture that the mission of the church has to continue. And may the Lord bless you to donate. We pray that the Lord will bless your work. We bless your families, we bless your businesses, and we bless everything you do, and may you find success, peace, and joy in all you do.